Hey Kyle, how are you, man?
I'm well, thank you. You're about to come back to the U.S. for the tour, right?
Yes, we are.
And this, I mean,
Um,
you guys have been doing this tour now for, I mean, on and off, I guess, what, 17 years you've been a band?
oh lordy, yeah, we haven't been to the States now in 3 years, so yeah, it's been a while. But yeah, I mean, the band. When people throw figures like that at me, I get a bit scared. That we've been, what exactly have we been doing for all that time? But no, it's been, this is our seventh record, and each one has been a very different animal to us. I suppose that the differences will be hugely magnified to us because we're very, obviously we're the ones making it, and there's the whole process which colors what the record is, whereas the listener only gets to hear the end product. So.
Right. It's like, and how long does it take you to find separation so you're not hearing every minute detail?
Never. I mean, I was at dinner in a friend's house the other night, and on their Spotify playlist or whatever, a song of ours came on, and I couldn't both engage with my friends and listen to it, or I keep hearing flaws in the sort of too much bass in the hi hat sort of bullshit minutiae that seems to. That seems to just scream out at me every time I hear our music, and in odd places like shopping centers or
Right.
on the radio, or stuff that we get. It happens a lot here. I'd be out somewhere and we'd hear a song of ours in a store, or whereas as opposed to it being in the sort of confines of a studio, or playing live.
hmm hmm I think it was Beck or something like years ago. Like his whole thing was, he said it's like he's able to separate it. Like it was like covering himself whenever he hears "loser" anymore.
Okay,
It's like not even
yeah.
his. Like that's not the case for you though. That's
Some actually, that's interesting. So the older records would be definitely. So this is what we did. Yeah, I would feel quite detached from stuff from early 2000s.
yeah.
That you go back and learn, and you learn it as a cover. Sometimes you kind of you're listening to recordings, going, "What the hell did we do there?" And you're trying to work out chords or sort of shapes or something that you would have fashioned way back then and haven't touched since.
Right. Well, this record, and we can get back to more current affairs here, but Arms is great. It's and I know the reviews have come back completely positive on them, but I want to start with that first song because I love the opening song. And it's not completely out of the park different for you guys, but it's different, right? I mean that.
It is, yeah, and it was definitely a marker to put it first and to sort of start with that sort of palate cleanser from where we left off. It's less of a song than a sort of little 2.5 minute vibe that sort of hopefully sets the scene for the record. We wanted it to sound ebullient and a bit silly and sort of joyous, a bit unhinged,
Yeah.
and hopefully, I think it works. I think it sets the tone for the record. As a bit of a color shift for us pretty well, and also the statement of fail again, fail better.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up. I mean, what an
You know,
interesting way to get the party started. Fail
yeah,
again,
I think
it's
I suppose songs are often they're photographs of moments in time where
yeah.
where you might be feeling a certain way that doesn't last. So you look at it again later in the cold light of day, and a song like that is an element of of feeling like we've been banging our head against the wall, trying to sort of catch a break, and the beatings will continue until morale improves, sort of thing. Fail again, fail better. That it's a Beckett quote. It's as our struggle as mankind is to sort of constantly fail, but hopefully fail a little better.
No, which is a nice seg then to, when I listen to Sons and Daughters and then straight to Out of Love, I mean, there definitely seems like a thread there, almost to what you were just saying there about mankind.
Yeah, I mean, Sons and Daughters is one has been percolating for a while. The notion of what sort of planet we're leaving for our sons and daughters, and how well or otherwise we're doing it, sharing this planet and taking care of it or not. And I didn't want to get into dad rock, but hey, I'm a dad, and and hopefully we still rock a little bit. And you're right about, first and foremost, your sort of first-hand experience as a human on this earth, and that's one of the one of the things that sort of been preoccupying us, I suppose, a lot is is having young kids and just, seeing the world through their eyes a little more, and sort of no longer being the freewheeling, crazy rock and rollers that we used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of all the crazy things that are happening in our political system over here in the States. That's one of the things that kind of frightens me the most, what's happening with the EPA. And I think that's why those songs stood out, because, the way we connect with songs, this is what you're seeing in the world. And of course, it's coming back to you and it's going into your writing. And this is what I'm feeling in the world. And suddenly I hear that and it's like, that's everything that I want to say right now.
There's sort of degrees of bad behavior around this subject. And outright denial is, and it's a sort of, in a sinister sort of way, it's not a sort of burying your head in the sands like I don't want to hear it. It's actually a concerted effort to deny that it's happening, and
right.
That's pretty scary. Yeah, I suppose there was a lot of imagery that sort of would have inspired that song. One being seeing aerial photographs of these collections of plastics that are in the Pacific, that are these huge land masses, effectively now, where all this plastic is gathered and formed.
They're like islands.
Yeah, they are, and there's some crazy statistic that by 2050 there'll be more plastic in the sea than fish.
Oh.
Which it's just mind-boggling.
That hurts. Then on the more,
but I think it is our job though to document these things and to speak to these things and not avoid them. And it's a tricky thing to do with music, and trying to be sort of, with this record, is trying to be a little looser and joyous and musically it's, for us, it's been really great fun, and we've put a band together. There's three of us who are the core band, and we've added another two musicians who are very much in that spirit as well, of sort of communal sort of fun, in that sort of almost like that Stop Making Sense, that Talking Heads tour, and that era of those performances had a great sort of joy to them, and we feel like we're in that sort of zone, and while addressing these pretty heavy subjects, that there's a juxtaposition there, but I think it's a welcome one. I think if you address these really heavy subjects, often in a very obvious sort of heavy downer sort of way, they can have less impact than when you address them in a sort of very up sort of way.
On the more, I guess, on the flip side of all that, on the fun, more beautiful, optimistic side, the song, and I know you've told this story a lot, and I apologize, but the song about reading the story or seeing the story about the lady who hears music for the first time.
Right. Yeah, that's a song called Take Your Sweet Time, and there's a lady in the UK named Joanne Milne. I came across a YouTube clip of her hearing for the first time. She was at age 40. She had her ears switched on. Effectively, it's a procedure which involves a cochlear implant, and there's lots of them out there now. But I think it was one of the early pieces of footage of this transformation. And just imagining that how overwhelming that must be, to have a sense switched on like that. And the nurse is just reciting the days of the week, and she's losing it. She's just so overcome and in floods of tears. And I think everyone who's watched it must have had the same reaction. It's just the most moving thing. Occasionally, in the sort of noise of what gets thrown at us online and the sort of numbing effect of that, there are these things that shine through that are still really affecting, I find. And so it's an attempt, I suppose, to think about what music must be like when you discover it at age 40, having never heard, and sort of what a beautiful thing that may or may not be. It may be too much. I reached out to her on Twitter, and I've been in touch with her and talking to her about her experience enjoying music for the first time. And she said, yeah, it's baby steps. She couldn't go straight for the full sort of spectrum. She had to sort of, get in gently. Yeah. We quote a lyric from Wichita Lineman in that song, and I need you more than want you, and I want you for all time, which to me is my favorite line ever, and it's one of my favorite songs, and I love how that's put together. And you've been trying to get her to listen to that song, because it's so sumptuous and beautifully put together. I don't think she's quite ready for that sort of level of orchestration and stuff. I think she's more what is she listening to? She is listening to some classical music, but yeah, hopefully she will make it to Wichita Lineman, I think.
So interesting. When you're writing a song like that, then, and so you've got this concept, and it's a beautiful concept. Here you are almost like putting together your own piece of music that she would hear for the first time.
Yeah.
Do you have to pay extra attention to did you have to pay extra attention to the detail of the music because of the theme of it all?
We tried to, yeah, we tried to make it sumptuous and quite a sort of broad spectrum, and quite, it goes off in the middle of the song in this sort of musical interlude that was very definitely sort of ear candy. We wanted to really sort of hammer home some of that beauty, in the sort of synth guitar strings world, and it's a bit of an epic. It's almost 7 minutes long, I think, but we wanted it to be one of those sort of big, sumptuous songs.
Yeah.
It was interesting, sort of tackling, having that brief, beyond the lyrics and the narrative that it had that job to do also, So it feels great that we've I feel achieved it.
Yeah.
She's listened to it actually, and we're going to be in the UK next year. She's going to come see us play. She hasn't been to a whole lot of live shows because I'd imagine it's a little overwhelming, and she has to wear ear protection. But she's going to come see us. She lives in Newcastle, in the north of England. So
that's so cool.
Hopefully the live version will do it for her too.
It becomes so much more than a song. It's just so many layers to that, I guess. Beyond the song, yeah. It's almost like I don't know. It's almost like if you're spinning your life in 3D and then you finally get to step around, I guess. But
yeah, it's a very satisfying thing to do as an artist, is to make that connection, and not just with her. It's like people are really moved by the story, and when we play it live, it has a real connection,
Well, I'll wrap up by saying the whole album really has that sentiment all over it. Just fantastic, beautiful. You've done it again. 17 years. I'll keep throwing that at you. Still making them. Still writing the good songs.
Still shoveling, man. Yeah.
Still shoveling.
Thanks, Kyle.
All right. Thanks, Paul. It was good talking to you.
All right. You too, man.
All right. Bye.